that happened. One of the big things that happened just as we were publishing the agenda is there was an oil spill that was detected at the Klamath transfer station. And so we added that as a separate agenda item, and we'll be talking about that in the response. But a lot of the last chance grade changes have made us make numerous adjustments to the hours of the Klamath transfer station. And we'll be talking about that as well in that item. In this last month, Mission Possible brought in over 4,740 pounds of trash, representing an authority expense of $835. Let's see. This last month, I've been working with the Del Norte County Department of Office of Emergency Services, and we're updating the emergency response planning documents with related to solid waste recycling, debris cleanups, and we'll continue to work with that in the coming month. Regarding SB 1383, I've been continuing to try to work with the county on that. I'm hoping that in the coming month, we might have an agenda item on the Board of Supervisors meeting, but I do not yet have a date for that. Regarding outreach and advocacy, agenda items 7.1 and 7.2 will address items before the legislature. Kira and I, once again, were part of KFUG's program Rethinking Recycling this past month. And I'll remind everybody that this coming August 5th through 8th, the Del Norte County Fair will once again be an in-person event, and the Del Norte Solid Waste Management Authority is a longtime proud sponsor of the county fair. We'll be having a booth and invite you all to join. And it looks like Recology has several employees that will also be helping us out during that outreach period. The statewide Commission on Recycling Markets, Curbside Recycling has finished their first report, and that's available for public review, and the link there. And then regarding personnel, Jeffrey Matheson's employment has ended with the Del Norte Solid Waste Management Authority, and we hired a new employee, Jeremiah Johnson, currently being trained as a refuse. With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions about the director.
Any questions for Director Ward that we won't be addressing later on? Okay, let's go ahead and go to the financials then, please.
The financial reports, again, because we're a week ahead in the month and a little bit behind in terms of the accounting, we don't have the full reports that you usually get. But in terms of our cash flow, we have 1.6 million in the bank plus another 198,000 for last month's rent, so to speak. Regarding claims approved by director, once again, you'll see that our largest payment, as usual, goes to Hambro WSG for their good services at the Del Norte County transfer station. And second largest charge goes to the Del Norte County auditor for the debit and credit card machine. And so we don't have the final monthly total, so I don't have the revenue comparisons year to year, because again, I'll update that in the coming month as those reports become available.
All right, any questions?
With that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Okay, looks like we're good. Let's go ahead and then move on to we don't have anything for landfill collections franchise. We
do have an item for that. And I have a PowerPoint I can bring up, and then Jeremy, I think, is going to talk us through this.
All right, let's look at our new cans.
Okay. All right, Jeremy, there? Jeremy?
Well,
I show he's connecting right now.
Okay.
Uh-oh.
No?
Looks like he's not muted. I don't know what the issue is.
well,
So
Technology is, there you are.
Oh, there he is.
Here I am. Somebody just let me unmute here. Thank you. I think it was Kira. Appreciate it. Yeah, let me see if I can get over here where I can see. There we go. All right, let me get this closed off. All right. Ted asked me to go ahead and give you guys a quick little update on our situation with the street side container city cans. And so I was going to go ahead and briefly do that. Basically, we've got 6 that the Del Norte Solid Waste Management Authority has purchased. And we have those in place, and we're currently testing those now. We got those in just prior to the 4th of July, I believe. On the left side of your screen there, you'll see the full set of containers. The door on the left was a little bit lighter color than we had wanted, so we had ordered. We've already placed the order for 60 new ones. We did that here a little while back, and we did work on getting that door color grade up a little bit more, so the accent of the white in the front had a little bit more pop to it. And I also believe the doors, we're going to be taking that circle out on the left side because it's so thin it can be pulled down. So I think we're going to shave that open, which is going to give us a little bit more of an open access to the can. The one on the right, we couldn't really see it, so I took an up-close view, is a 5-inch hole allowing up to a 2-liter bottle for recycling purposes. So basically, 6 of these are in place. They seem to be working fairly well. However, one of the design challenges is that we do not have the capacity of them that we did with the old cans. So they do not hold as much. So with that test that we're figuring out, we're going to have to work on, when the other cans come into place, we're going to have to work on a different schedule. The schedule we've been doing for years past is not going to work, and we're going to have to adjust the service schedules to keep up with them properly to make sure they look appropriate. So as those come into play with the new setup, we will definitely going to address the service schedule on that. We've lost probably about 12 to 15 yards of where we picked up on the positive side of not getting kicked in and the damages and being concrete, we've lost on the container size inside for the amount it can hold. So that's really where we're at. So next slide, please.
So Jeremy, just a quick question. Is it too late to kind of go back to the drawing board and have bigger containers made?
Yeah, it's too late, and they don't make them any bigger than this in the concrete form. So in what we asked was, when we originally put this order in, are they the same size that we have now? And the answer we got in the beginning when we started this was, yes, it would be very close. The short-term answer for that is that's not the case. The cans do narrow down. However, the way they're designed inside, it's a little bit easier for our employees servicing them. They do have a ring around there that helps kind of funnel things into the can. And we only have one side that overflows instead of 2. Having the double openings caused a lot of problem with wind and blowing trash. So I think where we picked up some positive features for that, we've lost in efficiency. So we're probably looking at now, instead of a 4-day-a-week schedule, we're looking at more of a 6. So that's probably what's going to end up happening, is we're going to have to run Monday through Friday and probably the Sunday that we usually run to keep them in check. So that's going to be something we're going to have to adjust on our end to make sure, that we keep them looking right for our community. And then, of course, on the right side, you'll see, this is the engraving that's done on the front door plates. Very well done. We also ordered stickers for the trash side. The recycle side has, the triangle of arrows. However, we felt that, we need to make that a little bit more identifiable for people who come into our community, and so we've got that action plan solved. And then, so what you're going to see on some of these containers is we've got this blue lighthouse emblem in the back. Not all the cans are going to have those. So basically what we did was the ones that have the blue emblem in the back, like the one you see now, are the ones that are going to be placed inside the city, where if they're facing the back towards the street, where people are driving by, they get that beautiful view of the extra picture. However, when they're on the beach fronts and they're facing the ocean and not very many people see the backside, we left that slate blank. So they will be, we ordered a couple extra for inner city. We ordered a couple extra for the beach sides, where that emblem is not really, it's just kind of a waste of dollars to be able to spend that. But we did get the final order in. We're hoping end of August to get those in. The final bill on the 60 was close to about $163,000. And they're not cheap, but they have a lot of bling factor to them, and I think they did a pretty good job of doing that. The difference is most of them are all, except for 12, are going to have that imprinted city emblem that's real colorful on the side. The ones in the county, the county's emblem is so detailed with colors, and there's so much going on inside that picture. They were not able to recreate that in the concrete. So we, in communicating with the county directly, they provided us the stickers that they would like. They're the really nice heavy-duty vinyl stickers that we've always used on the cans. We are going to go ahead and get those affixed to the outside on the county cans, which there's only 12 sets. So there's not a whole lot of those. But majority of the ones in the city and most of the main beach fronts off of 101 will have the imprinted sticker, the imprinted emblem into the concrete, because that remains fairly simple. So any questions I can answer for you guys for the current moment?
I just wanted to, I had my hand up because I just wanted to make sure that the county had a few stickers. I represent the county, but you answered that. So, I mean, I wish that we could get the emblem, but I understand that that's complicated with the.
Yeah, and it's really complicated. And kind of where we came into is the fact that they came back and says, hey, you're going to have to change the image. Well, the county is not going to change the image. And there's no way they can get, if you look at that picture, there is so many fine details in there you could never get stamped into the concrete. And so by working with Heidi is what we talked to. I said, if you don't want to change that, we understand, because it has to go through a whole entire process of redoing an emblem, and to try to get that affixed for 12 containers, they said they just gave us a large stack and says, and we're going to put some extra adhesive on those, and we'll maintain those stickers so they look appropriate for the county sections.
Great. Thank you, Jeremy.
You bet.
All right, any other questions? All right.
All right,
That's
well, that's
great.
the latest till the rest come in. Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you, Jeremy.
All right, we're going to move on to transfer station items. Klamath Transfer Station update,
Yeah.
Mr. Ward.
Thank you, Chair. So many things happened with the Klamath Transfer Station. First, related to the last chance grade closures, we had to change the operations hours. Initially, we changed those to 8 to 2. We're open an extra day a week, starting in July through September. And so typically that's a Friday. We're open throughout the year on Wednesdays and Sundays down in Klamath. Our typical hours are 10 a.m. till 4. With the closures, we had to shift that to 8 a.m. to 2 p.m. But what we found through experience was that 2 p.m. was just cutting it too short. And there wasn't enough time to get assuredly through the Caltrans line, which closed at 3. So we needed to shift that to 8 to 1. And so the more detailed story about Kira got that experience for us was that last Wednesday, we had a report from our gate attendant that there seemed to be some oil being emitted below the bin. And because the bin only has a 1-foot clearance at the base, he couldn't tell how much oil there was or how much was going. So he did the best he could. He informed us. So we then provided absorbent materials to Recology and asked their driver, who was going down extra early at 4:30 in the morning, to, when he pulled the bin, to lay down the absorbent. And John just did an excellent job that evening, or that very early morning. And he took a couple photos, which I included in the agenda packet, but essentially he got it just in time. And it looks like very less than a pint, if that, actually made it into the storm drain. So, and it looks like there was even less than that. Kira was down there. She was the one who actually did the cleanup, but she went down there to do the cleanup. She got there barely through the line. She had 6 minutes to clean up the absorbent that was there and turned around at 2:06. She was the third to last car to get through the line at 3. So that showed us there just wasn't enough time to try to be open to 2 and still have our gate attendants return. So that moved us to the 8 to 1 hours. But because there have been so many changes and we work for you, and I wanted to engage your thoughts and your guidance in terms of how we're doing this, because we could potentially, because of the Friday closures, we could potentially be open as late as 3 p.m. from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. But we found that would probably make things as confusing as anything else, because then we've got 3 different sets of hours for the 3 days we're open. So we figured try to make it more consistent. And we really have to be open at 8 a.m. with those hours, because otherwise the gate attendant is just waiting there to open. So even though it's kind of a ridiculously early start time, it makes the most sense in order to be of service to the Klamath community. So we would recommend the 8 a.m. Start time, but and we're currently at 8 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Wednesdays and Fridays, and 10 to 4. But if the board chooses to alter those hours, we can certainly work with that. So I thought I'd throw that out there and see if there was any nibbles. But mostly I wanted to give you the update of the cleanup that went on in Klamath. We use this as an exercise to report to Department of Fish and Wildlife, and to exercise our procedures. When we do have a spill, who do we contact? What procedures do we go through? So we made an official report. But I was delighted with the cleanup that both John did and Kira did. And I think this has all been addressed well. Kira, do you want to have anything to add to what I've said about this?
Just that also, I believe Corey from the Yurok tribe had a person that she was training, and they happened to go to the transfer station post cleanup, and or post when everything was boomed out, when there were booms and diapers all down, and she was able to use that as a training exercise to show what you do, what the right way to deal with a spill is. And so that was great. And so some good stuff came out of this, and it was caught at exactly the right time. We were very lucky, and but it's not a good time when somebody illegally dumps oil.
And again, we're lucky to have Kira on staff. She's actually an award-winning cleanup person. She's got an award from the Army Corps of Engineers for cleaning up a spill on the water in Sausalito, I believe it was, prior to her employment. But anyway, we're glad to have such a cleanup expert on staff.
Mr. Inscore, can I comment on this as well?
Yes, please, Jeremy.
I'm going to throw out a request there that's probably not going to be very well liked, but I'm going to throw it out anyways. You know, with the difficulties with last chance grade, it's really tough for us to get down to Klamath as frequently as we need to continue the services with the closures, and you know, with the fund labor issues that are taking place, you know, we're on the end of struggling during our busy hours too. That, you know, it's having this transfer station open on Friday is difficult for us. I know typically it's not a problem, but with this last chance grade, that's basically there's 4 different days that we've got to get to Klamath for the transfer station. One is Thursdays when we do service to Klamath area. We've got drivers leaving our yard at 4 a.m. to try to get that serviced. which is already impactful to the customers down there. And then, with the transfer station being open on Fridays, when we get the call Friday and they open again on Sunday, we've already got drivers working 6 days a week right now. So which means I have to run trucks on Saturday, which puts us at a 7-day work week schedule to try to keep the transfer station operating on Friday. So I wanted to mention that to you. I didn't know, if there's any other comment on that other than we'll continue to do what we need to do to keep the transfer station serviced. However, with that Friday opening for just the 4 hours, it does make it a little bit more pressure for us to try to get that serviced and maintained to make sure that the transfer station has the availability on Sunday for their containers. So I just wanted to bring that up to the board. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Jeremy.
So I just have a quick question for Jeremy. How much time do you need to effectively get that serviced?
It depends on the number of containers. If it's one, we usually try to get it in Friday by end of day. If it's more than one, it becomes a challenge, and we'll have to run a truck on Saturday. Usually, when they're open Wednesdays and Sundays, from Wednesday to basically Friday, we have enough time to service 2-3 containers. When it's open on Friday and they reopen again on Sunday, the only time we can service those containers is Saturday. And then we already have a guy that also, we have rotating shifts of guys coming in to take care of the city cans and roll off containers on Sunday for the recycle centers. So it's becoming a little bit more difficult for us to try to keep up that schedule and running the way that we're running with them. So I just wanted to point that out. Typically, it's not a problem when that's open. We can get down there and get it done. But with this Klamath closure, as it hurts and affects everybody, it's really affecting us with our operation times of trying to get somebody down there, and then we lose them for 3 or 4 hours in the day, which puts us behind schedule for the other customers we're trying to service. Basically, a guy can only make one run down there in about 3 hours or so, if we can hit the timing right, and that's with the lines as well. So I just wanted to mention the difficulties that we were having with that for your consideration, and us trying to maintain that service for the public down in Klamath, which is it's important service, but it's becoming really bearable for us. So just wanted to pass that along.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
But is Jeremy asking us not to have the Friday open? Is that the question on the table? Because I mean, I understand
That's what I hear him saying. It would be easier for him, but we're a public service agency, and that's part of the service that we provide to Klamath.
Right.
And so the question becomes, first, is the board willing to consider such a significant change? And then is that the appropriate change you enact? For example, there's additional considerations. If we were going to just be open 2 days a week during the summer, one, we didn't agendize it that way. So there might be folks from Klamath who would want to engage in this conversation and wouldn't know that it's happening. So there's that concern. But also, for instance, with the closure on Last Chance Grade, we could be open more hours on Friday than we could be on Wednesday. So if Jeremy's asking that we not be open 3 days a week, would being open Friday and Sunday be better for him? Anyway, just various.
Okay, well, the one piece of that is clear is what you just pointed out. We didn't agendize removing a day of service, and so that's not something we're going to be able to do today. If we, I mean, we can put it back on the agenda and do the public outreach with Klamath for next month. Or if we want to do it sooner because it really is a critical concern, we're not going to be able to do it for a couple weeks at the earliest, as far as being able to even call a special meeting. But I think we, like you said, we need to do the outreach and agendize it for the Klamath community's concern as well. So.
Well, the difficulty as well is, I mean, Klamath is already underserved in this way. So, I mean, it's difficult for them to throw things on a trailer and get over the grade as well. And I mean, I hate to say this, Recology is not the only one taking a hit on this.
Yeah.
These closures. I mean, it's a very difficult situation. I'm really frustrated with it, but we're all dealing with it. I hate to say that.
Well, I think that I think we need to vet this issue. I think that staff, Mr. Ward, Kira, I think you guys need to have this conversation with Jeremy and vet it from that standpoint. And then we need to do some outreach with the community in Klamath in some fashion. We've made a bunch of changes. And I don't think we've had really much pushback, but this is a significant change that they need to be able to weigh in on. So I think it's a good question to ask. And we need to approach it very pragmatically before we just react.
Okay, I will certainly discuss this with our staff and with Recology, and I'll present it as an option for the chair to consider as adding to the next agenda.
Okay. And if this becomes really an urgency item, I mean, if we need to look at a special meeting sometime after the 1st of August for this one item, then, we'll address it however we need to. If from a staff standpoint, you feel like it's that important for us to do, then we put out a poll and see if there's any way we can do that.
I mean, just so the board's aware, I mean, part of the significant challenge for Jeremy is really that we don't know the amount of traffic and how much waste is going to come in on Friday. And so really it comes down to when's the last possible moment when we can find out whether or not he needs to send a driver, because that's what he really needs in terms of planning. And so if we could reliably have the same amount of trash each week, then it would be a little bit easier, but we can't do that because construction season happens. Sometimes you have a big load, the containers fill up unpredictably. And so that's part of the challenge in providing these services.
Okay. So this is an update. We have any other public comment? Thank you, Jeremy, for sharing with us. And we certainly want to be supportive of our partners and our community. It's a tough balancing act right now. I don't see any other public comment, so we will receive this report, file it, and look to future possible actions based on staff's evaluation. Let's move on then to item number 7 and talk about AB 332 first.
Yeah, let's talk about treated wood waste. So first of all, I want to recognize the significant engagement of Supervisor and Commissioner Starkey on this issue, because she has regularly called and emails and what are we doing and can't we move faster? And so it's appropriate that we all talk about this for a little bit just to get a better understanding of it. So treated wood, we're not talking about wood that's been painted or stained or particle board. We're really talking about pressure treated wood or wood that's been treated with creosote. And so this wood is, what is treated wood? Well, it includes wood used for ground contact or, ground contact, pest barriers, posts. It's required by several aspects of the Uniform Building Code. It's commonly used on sill plates, posts, phone poles, railroad ties, piers and docks, and for structural members on the exterior decks and other exposed structures. So the treatment chemicals can degrade over time. So some very old pieces of formerly treated wood are non-hazardous, but the process of trying to test and prove that the wood is non-hazardous is expensive and really impractical. So at the Delaware County Transfer Station, we've been open since March 2005, and we've never accepted separated loads of treated wood waste. So we've occasionally had calls about railroad ties or telephone poles, and we've never accepted separated loads. And so we don't have a customer rate for accepting that material. We only have a rate for solid waste and construction debris. And so under the previous regulatory regime, we were allowed to accept mixed construction loads that included up to 5% treated wood blended in the larger load. That's what we were allowed. But then come January 2021, that system evaporated. And so we could no longer accept treated wood. And so the current situation is a problem because it's a relatively common waste. Construction is relatively booming to how it's been in years past. And so there's an increasing amount of treated wood that's out there. And contractors are in a bind. They're required to use it by the Uniform Building Code, but they're not actually allowed to dispose of it, which is just difficult for them. So this lack of options pushes them into making bad choices, whether burning, burying it, or dumping. Now, none of those are good options and none of those are legal, but since since there's no legal option available to them, people are making those choices. So, and also because we haven't been able to accept it, we acknowledge that there are treated wood waste stockpiles in Del Norte because we've asked people, set it aside, please don't bring it to us. But it's illegal for the Del Norte County Transfer Station or customers to actually take those piles of treated wood and blend them into larger loads. That's under statute, not legal. So the transfer station needs a service that allows management of treated wood waste as a separate material. And that would be a new service. And so part of the challenges of being a public agency is in order to enact a new service, we need to enact a rate ordinance, which is a process that takes over 60 days because it needs to have a public hearing and public notice. And so under the current, but there is a regime in which we could potentially take treated wood waste, and this is what Humboldt is currently doing, that there's the Department of Toxic Substances Control has established the variance process until a new one can be established. And so there's a nearly $1,000 application fee, but it's complicated by several factors. One, you have to be a designated facility, a designated hauler, and a designated disposal facility, but neither Cal Recycle nor the Department of Toxic Substances Control have jurisdiction in Oregon, and that's where all our materials are disposed. So if it was in California, the Dry Creek landfill might also need to apply for a variance. And the variance applications are only reviewed after the payment's received. So there's a process in actually going through the variance process. And there's a law that's working its way through the legislature that will likely supplant and replace this variance process. And so the variance process is only good until this new law is signed into law. So for that reason, we recommend supporting AB 332, which has been it's in your agenda packet. But essentially, this is an urgency measure that will be effective as soon as it's signed by Governor Newsom. Will establish a means of managing treated wood waste. And likely it'll be signed somewhere between August and September. And under this law, the Department of Toxic Substances Control will propose a new system by 2028. And this system that they're going to establish under AB 332 would expire by 2030. So it's still a temporary system, but it's going to be longer lasting than the variance. So our current status is that Gary Penning of Rogue Valley Disposal says the Oregon Department of Environmental Quality has sent them a letter saying they're approved to accept treated wood waste from California. And I've received email communications that I haven't reviewed, but I assume that's what's in it. Jeremy Herber says the Recology has a variance to be a hauler of treated wood waste. And while the authority has not yet pursued a DTSC variance, the reason why we haven't done that is that I was waiting to see what system would allow us to do what we had done before, which had not evidenced any problems, which was allow treated wood waste to be part of larger loads and continue to haul it to Oregon, because that was working for us and we hadn't seen any problems with it. But there does not appear to be any system in which that is allowed. And so what we want to be able to do is tell the public we can accept this material, but unless we are accepting the material as a separated material, it doesn't look like we can say that. So the Humboldt Waste Management is currently under the variance process. They're accepting loads of separated treated wood waste of up to 50 pounds during their open hours. And larger amounts require registration under the variance process. So that's not a great option, but at least it's something. But what we should be doing, and what I would recommend, is that staff work with Hambro WSG to negotiate service fees and operation plans for a change order to accept separated treated wood waste for a fee. And we work the process of updating the transportation permit document necessary. We work with legal counsel to review that change order and to draft a rate ordinance to enact new customer service rates for accepting separated treated wood waste. And as that would take more than 60 days, staff recommends starting on that soon. And should this law not be enacted, the governor doesn't sign it or it doesn't make its way through the legislature, then we would be pursuing the variance. So that's the staff recommendation, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
All
I have
right,
a question.
go ahead, Val.
Why can't we simultaneously, I know it costs $1,000, but why can't we simultaneously pursue that variance as we're waiting for this? I just feel, we're in July, the variance was available to apply for in January, it sounds like. There's 47 other transfer stations within California that have the variance. There's no way for us to actually do this simultaneously, just in case one doesn't work out?
We can. I try not to spend time and effort on something that is of temporary or questionable benefit. That's pretty much the hesitation. Plus once, like I said, we would have to establish a new rate. And so that eats up at least 60 days. And so pursuing the variance, anyway, there's just that was my consideration. I work for the board. If that's what you want me to do, I'll do that.
How long does it take to go through the variance process to
Unclear. Well, what we have to put the application together. We have to get the check actually cut, because until DTSC receives the money, they won't start processing the application. So there's those steps.
If I could ask, Jeremy applied for the variance as a hauler. I mean, maybe he could answer how long that process took as a hauler.
It took us about 45 to 60 days. And we applied for it since we operate in numerous other California locations. When we started to apply for the variance, our corporate office decided to apply for a variance for all hauling companies in California. And we did that back in February, late February, early March, and we've had our variance, probably within 45 to 60 days after that. So we're legal to collect and transport to the transfer station and carry it on our trucks. However, from there, it still needs to go through the transfer station and through the hauling process from the transfer station to its end location. So we applied fairly early, and maybe those times change now that it's a little later in the game. I'm not sure, but we were pretty early on when we applied for that.
Thank you. So my only concern is, Governor Newsom, bless his heart, we don't know which direction he's going to go. I mean, I think it was SB 68 that was going through that pretty much everybody's on board with, and he vetoed it. So we don't know for sure. So I don't want to waste that time either. And I understand it's putting a lot of pressure on staff, but I want to see some movement going toward us doing something. I'm not 100%, but I feel comfortable with even suggesting this because I understand. But if AB 332 is not enacted, then we're going to have to do something, and we don't want to discourage our builders. And I appreciate the builders that have come forward to me saying, hey, what do? I don't want to bury it, burn it, or dump it. And so I appreciate their integrity, and I want to make sure we have some option for them.
Okay.
If I could just
Well-
chime in here, I agree with Valerie in that, you know, I think we need to get moving on this because there are some that don't have the integrity of the ones that Valerie has talked to. So we know that there's burning and burying and dumping going on. There has to be because there's been no other option. So I think we should get moving on this because we don't know where AB 332 is going to go, and also it's been since the beginning of the year, and we need to get something moving on this. So I think we should move toward that variance application.
I'm certainly happy to do that. One additional consideration that and reason why, until I received a copy of the letter from Oregon DEQ, I knew that we couldn't pursue the variance application, having that at be our disposal site. But now that it's established, we might be able to. But again, I highlight that neither DTSC nor Cal Recycle has jurisdiction over that landfill. So it's new territory for me. We'll just see what questions arise. But what I'm hearing is that I've got consensus direction to currently pursue the variance application as well as the 332 process, but I've not yet heard support for AB 332.
Okay,
Oh, I'm
well,
100% supportive of 332. I'm absolutely supportive of that. But I just don't want to rely on it in the event that it gets vetoed. So far, it has got unanimous support in the legislature, but we can't rely on that when it comes to Governor Newsom and his possibility of vetoing it altogether.
no, I would agree. I mean, there's no guarantee that he's going to sign it. I mean, the other bill had a lot of support as well, and it passed with flying colors, and then he threw it out the window. So, and not just that, this wood has been piling up somewhere since January, and so it's our responsibility as the Solid Waste Management Authority to give people the options, the choice to get rid of this stuff, the ability to get rid of it. Otherwise, you know, they're going to get rid of it on their own, just like Darren said. It's going to go somewhere. We have to provide a legal route for it. So I agree. I think we need to go for the variance and support AB. Is it AB or SB? I don't remember.
AB 332.
332.
I would concur with the support certainly of AB 332. The only caveat that I would give as far as moving forward with the variance is making sure that we have the ability to do it in Oregon. I don't want to put a bunch of effort and time into this if we don't have clarity that we're going to be able to move the material, because there's no point in spending $1,000 and a bunch of staff time only to have Oregon DEQ say, well, that's all fine and dandy. If you can find somebody in California who'll take it, then go for it, because you're not bringing it here. So we need that. We got to have absolute assurances that we've got all those ducks in a row as well. But then I agree, we need to move forward and get the variance and assume that we're going to assume the worst and hope for the best.
All right.
So,
Okay. I'm not hearing any dissenting voices. They'll take that as correction.
okay.
Yeah.
Any public comment? All right. We'll close public comment and we'll move on to 619.
So the board has already supported 619, pretty much a status report. It's been referred to Assembly Appropriations. At this point, it seems to have pretty broad-based support.
Okay. Well,
So we'll continue to extend our advocacy as that moves.
all right. Our next item is 7.3, and then it involves the purchase agreements for 2520 Old Mill Road and the authorization for the director to sign on behalf of the authority. Thank you.
And I'd
Ms.
like
Rice,
to
being
express
here.
my deep gratitude to Martha Rice for getting these agreements together and also for joining us from a hospital in Medford.
All right, Martha, you wanna give us an overview on this?
Sure. So these agreements are for the purchase of 2520 Old Mill Road. I have received 4 back of the 5 that we need, and I'm told that the 5th is coming.
Good.
So I received them back much quicker than I had anticipated. So once we get that 5th agreement back, we can open escrow and move on to the next phase of acquiring the property.
All right. Very good. That's a great update.
So we need to move to approval these agreements.
Yes, we need to approve the agreements for the purchase of 2520 Old Mill Road and authorize Director Ward to sign them on behalf of the authority.
So moved.
All right, I have a motion by Mr. Greenow. Do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Short. All right, any public comment on this? All right, seeing no public comment, this is great news. Kira, please pull the vote.
Commissioner Short,
Yes.
Commissioner Starkey,
Yes.
Commissioner Greeno,
Yes.
Chair Square.
Yes, very good. Last item on our agenda is discussion regarding moving to returning to in-person meetings in September. Mr. Ward, anything that you want to say
This is
about
to
this?
gauge the input from the board as to when and how you want to renew in-person meetings. I confirmed with Kylie that the meeting room at the Board of Supervisors chambers is reserved, and we continue to pay information technology so they could record and broadcast the meetings per usual. And we could do that as early as September if you'd like. I'd just like to hear what y'all want to do.
Oh, I
Well-
understand that you guys, I'm sorry, Val, I understand you guys meeting went off fine today, and so I don't see any reason from my perspective for us not to go ahead and proceed. But you guys, you and Darren were there. Maybe you can give us.
Hey, let's get back to normal. That's where I'm at. Let's do it.
Well, it's a little weird because this feels normal to me. I'm going to be
Yeah.
honest.
I guess
This
that's
is all
true.
you've known.
To me. But I'd love to do the hybrid. We did that today, but I don't know on that end how they felt about it. But at this, just to give those public who don't want to come in person, that's still that opportunity to make public comments and see it live. I don't know how that works. So whether or not that's impossible, I don't know, but I would love to get back. And I think September is a great time. Let's give it one more month and then move back. I think that's great.
Sounds good to
It
me.
seemed like County IT had the hybrid meeting all figured out. I'm glad you mentioned that, Valerie, the hybrid part of the meetings. That's probably going to be our new norm. But yeah, getting back to in-person meetings is a great idea, in my opinion.
And I would be supportive, even from a standpoint, Mr. Ward, of if we need to adjust our budget because there's an increased cost in IT to be able to do the hybrid. I agree with Commissioner Starkey. I'd like to be able to continue to offer that to the public. I think it's really important. So if we need to make that adjustment, then just bring it, as you communicate with the county about this, then bring it back to our next meeting. If we need to adjust the budget, if we don't have enough already budgeted, then let's budget for it and move forward.
Yeah, and I would say I think September is a good idea. It'll give the county an opportunity to get any bugs out that they may have and just get it working seamlessly for us before we all jump back into live meetings. I agree.
Oh, sure, Jason. Use us like the guinea pigs.
Yes,
Yeah, when's the city going back?
never. Oh, I don't know.
Not sure that item's agendized for discussion.
I believe it'll be in the next couple months, sometime.
All right, well, I think there's consensus to move forward for September, Mr. Ward, do the
Thanks, sir.
outreach at the county and then let us know.
Okay.
Any other business for the good of the order this afternoon? Commissioners, you have anything? All right, you guys are awesome. Appreciate your all your hard work and your service to our community, and we will see you next time, August 17th at 4 p.m. Thank you.
All right. Thank y'all.
Y'all have a good evening.
Kira, are you coming now for me to sign that?
Yes.
All right, see you in a minute.
All
Bye.
right.
Thank you for your extra efforts, both of
You
you.
bet.
Bye.
All right. We good?
Okay, that went well, yes?
It did. I thought I was a little disorganized, but it worked through.
It did. Did
And we
There was just,
and it's fine. Once again, I welcome the board telling me you're not doing enough for the people,
absolutely.
right?
I mean, that's why we give them options.
Exactly. And I'm just saying, it's like that. Those are good things. Everybody's happy with that.
Luckily, Blake brought in the whole, we are doing the thing for either. So we can do the thing for both. But first we have to do the thing that we need to do.
I didn't want to say I was avoiding it, but the reality is, until I felt like there was an option that really looked beneficial, there was no point in like rolling down the hill. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Yeah.
So, and we'll see whether or not this works out. I just feel like the inner